So I feel like I was really well briefed.
Thank you.
I felt like you put me at ease, but I do feel I went into it very naively, thinking it was just shove a load of shit in a beaker and mix and it's going to be good, as long as I do it in the right order, at the right percentages.
Yeah.
But I think the main issue was that gum. What happened? What did I do?
Yeah, so when you initially added the gum in, it created something called fish eyes, which basically just means that it just clumps up a lot and it's just harder to disperse, and that's why we mix it with the glycerin.
Okay.
But I think the issue was that we used such a high level of gum in comparison to the glycerin. It made it so sticky. So when you put it in the first time, it was technically wrong. Like, you could definitely still mix it and it'll be fine, but adding in the glycerin just made it easier, but we just didn't have enough. So it's like we're kind of just juggling between of like, do we add in a really thick paste or do we just wait it out?
Yeah, yeah. That's what, like, I know Robert will agree that measuring was one of the most difficult parts.
It throws you off?
Yeah, because you think you know exactly what you're doing. I'm just lumping stuff in, and then all of a sudden, it just goes way over.
Yeah.
Ooh. What does that say? Okay, it's very sticky. What do you do? Because like...
it comes with just being familiar with ingredients and knowing like what their general viscosity is. If it's thicker, then it's gonna weigh more, and so you kind of just have to play around with it. I feel like you both kind of had your oh shit moment when you were putting in the paraben.
Yeah.
You're actually like way over.
You pour it in, it's like just dripping in, and then you just go way over.
Jesus,
like, how did that just happen?
Yeah.
I was meant to put in 2 grams and it's just come at 3.99. And all I did was the tiniest little bit. What the fuck? What is this?
Yeah,
it's like
but then
the
you have your
tiniest amount.
powders, which are like super lightweight, and so you're like, I can just throw it in there. But then
which I did.
I think you did really well though for your first time.
You know,
like,
I'm impressed with myself.
Yeah,
Kind of.
It's so good. It just takes familiarity.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
I feel like I understand now when people are like, it took forever to get the formulation right, because I always think that means at the end of the whole process, when they went to use the product, they were like, this doesn't feel quite right, or it's not giving the payoff I wanted it to.
Yeah.
But I guess that means getting the formulation right, you
Yeah,
know?
and I feel like if you're a perfectionist too, it makes it even worse, because then you're like, oh, I could add a little bit more of that. Or
Yeah.
I could do this. And
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
I just have to be like, you've done 15 trials. Please stop.
I get it's a science, obviously. It was
Trying to tell
fun.
people.
I've never liked the whole mixing at home thing, but I do understand even more so and more in depth as to why you can't just make sunscreen with a beaker and a spoon, you know?
Yeah, sunscreens are probably one of the hardest formulations to make, honestly. And it blows my mind that people try to do this stuff at home because so much can go wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like, as you guys both noticed today. But I'm so glad you guys were here to learn this.
Yeah, it was fun. It's stressful, but
Yeah.
fun. It did feel very much like being back at school with all the maths and all the like problem solving in general. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Fun, but stressful.
It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, which I don't enjoy. But no, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much for being my little
Thank
sister
you. I'm
today.
glad I was yours. I think we obviously won.
We did.
I mean, it's not even a question.
Right, yeah.
We won.
We won.
So, one thing I found really difficult about this is ingredients. In general, anyway. So I was there looking for hyaluronic acid. I was picking up these bottles with liquids in.
You were looking for the liquids.
I was looking for a liquid. Oops, fuck.
Hyaluronic acid is a powder.
Yes, and I think that's actually so funny. I think people always assume that it's a liquid.
Yeah, acid,
so
you
have
think
to,
liquid.
It's funny because, people always say you have to put it on damp skin because it absorbs however much times its weight in water. And like, it has already absorbed a lot of its weight in water in the bottle, in the formula. There's already water in there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to put it on damp skin.
Right. The names of the products as well. There was one I was looking for. What did I keep calling it?
You was Sepimaxen.
Sepimaxen.
I was like, is my handwriting bad?
I'm still looking for Skepimax. Add more Skepimax. Semimax. Do I have time to melt some Skepimax?
The names are so similar to me anyway. How do you remember what they are and how you're putting them in when they all sound the same?
Like a sulfonate, isothianate.
Yeah. It always an 8 and acid.
I think that we just start to see patterns, like something that's going to make a product foam might end with ATE, and then it usually has a salt, like sodium, or if it's charged, I just know that cocoa beta propyl.
So it's like a breakdown of different. Okay, that
it's like
makes
I think you start to notice what words are going to be associated with what category.
Right.
And sometimes it's off. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
But for Ava and I, we've seen these ingredients so many times that
it's like second memory. That's not.
Yeah. Or like, but it's also I don't fully remember exactly what pH certain ingredients are stable at.
Right.
So the suppliers of the raw materials do give us formulation guidelines and
Yeah.
stuff.
Let's talk about it not going right. Not that mine didn't go right, but there was a stage where I went wrong and I can't figure out where it was.
Okay.
Because
yes.
I think I over-measured slightly on some things, but in my mind I was like, what's 1 or 2 grams?
It's so funny because like some of the stuff, if you're using like the surfactants, we're putting in there at 20-30%.
Right.
If you go a few grams over, that's not gonna matter.
Right.
But like certain thickeners are
Yeah.
and colors.
How different is 0.25 to 0.4 for
With
the
that
turmeric?
one, it might be okay. It just is gonna
It's
be
more a colour
bright. It might
thing,
stain
right?
your towel.
And what's wrong with that? you know?
Exactly.
Maybe I can have a bit more orange. I'm having a bit of a change because mine looks like baby sick and poo. So I'm gonna add a bit of blue to make it a bit more green rather than yellow, which green also looks like baby sick and poo, I've just realised. This is red. How is that red? Well, it's... Are you not thinking...
No.
What?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, it's gonna go brown.
It's going brown. It looks like diarrhea now. It's the worst.
I'm gonna give up with the colour.
In my mind, when I was adding in the colour, because it's a powder, I was like, you know what, science. It's not going to change the formula. It's just a powder that's going to dissolve into this formula. So I think I put in about 8 spoons of this orange colouring that wasn't the turmeric.
That is
And then I
typical
added red.
scientific measurements. 8 spoons.
8 spoons. 8 of the little spoons, and then I added in red as well. So I mean, the measurements then have to be so precise.
With colours.
Do you then have to change everything else within that? Would it have been better if I just started again and I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
Let me stick to the
probably.
rules. Okay.
But this is why I cannot stand working with like color cosmetics.
Yeah.
I worked on a couple foundation and
Yeah.
like products in the day. So you write the formula and the
Yeah.
compounders do it.
Yeah.
But there's almost always going to be color adjustments. So then as
Yeah.
the chemist, you have to be there like, hey, okay, I think you do like 0.02% more red. And it's,
Right,
it takes
it's so
long.
precise.
And so that was why we didn't do a color product.
Right.
today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically I did.
You did. One thing that you did that I was trying to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
When you had the hyaluronic acid
Yeah.
and you were mixing it, you were
Yeah.
like, what am I supposed to
With
do
the
with
glycerin,
this?
I was mixing with glycerin.
Did you ever add that into the main batch?
Eventually, yes.
Oh, okay, good.
But I
So
had
you
it.
get
I
that.
had it hanging out on the side for a long time because I was like, I don't know what to do with
Yeah.
this. And then I saw the hyaluronic acid was kind of getting a bit weird in
Yeah.
texture, where it was kind of
It was
sticking to the glycerin.
hydrating.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
And then I poured it, and I was like, oh, it's about time I
Yeah,
did this.
why you do that with hyaluronic acid, because
Yeah.
what makes it good in skincare is that people always say it can absorb however much times it's weight in
Yeah.
water, like 1,000, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you put it in a formula, it takes forever to hydrate in the
Yeah.
water. So you can just put some glycerin in there first and like
Right.
make a little slurry.
Yeah.
You're supposed to stir it.
I just let it sit, just let it do its own thing. Do you think?
it's fine.
Do you think maybe we as a team were a bit ambitious with our goals?
I was trying to give you a challenge, okay?
No, and that's fine. You know, this is probably the first and last time I get to do this, so
Right,
you know,
exactly.
yeah.
No, you can, because you're gonna come back.
I'll come back
whatever.
anytime.
Yeah. No, I think also I get bored when I'm
Yeah.
formulating, so I'm like, oh, put this in there.
What if
put
we
this
do
in
this
there.
and this?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
the same, but I'll be like, make it green,
And then,
make it look like slime.
and then we're watching it, I'm
Yeah.
like, I gave him about 27 stars.
Well, I think for my first time, I did just fine.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I would use it. It looks
Yeah.
like a Bath and Body Works product that I used to buy.
Would not use it. Thank you though for saying it. I've decided they're bronzing drops now because they stain like crazy. So if you want a yellow healthy glow, that's the one
That
to go
good
for.
jaundice look.
Thank you for all your help.
Thank you so much
and
for coming.
I feel
had
like
so
a
much
real
fun.
chemist. I did
You
too.
are a real chemist.
I know.
I'll give you your diploma and everything when you leave.
Print it out online.
Thank you for coming. I had so much fun. You were a great student.
Thank you.
You teach people how to formulate normally,
I
right?
do. I teach 3 labs a semester.
How different was this than what you're used to?
That's a great question. So when I teach my labs, we usually work in groups, and sometimes we have students that have more experience than others, and so they're able to help out, and I'm just kind of like oversee. With them, they haven't been. When was the last time you guys have been in like a chemistry lab?
Oh,
Never.
school.
Never.
School with
Like,
that.
so
Yeah, if we did
This was
chemistry.
like back down to the basics. I don't know if we really anticipated that.
I knew.
Here's how you tear the scale.
I know, yeah, that was like definitely fun because it's like stuff that we do every day that seems normal. But when I took my lab final in grad school, it's actually kind of funny because I had a really good lab partner, and she would always set up my mixer and the beaker and the chain and all of that for me. And so when it got to the final, I was alone, and I was like, I don't even know how to hook the beaker up.
Yeah.
To just get,
Besides like all the technical stuff, it's like the mechanical stuff of it too. It gets all kind of finicky. You don't want the blade to hit the side of the beaker.
It's like how I feel if I try to set up Anisha's light equipment and the video equipment, like just trying to turn the camera on. I don't even know how to do that.
No.
So it's like
it's a whole
it's
world.
definitely fun.
What was the point where you're like, I need to step in?
Good question.
I was worried when I started seeing the color.
Yeah.
Why?
There was nothing that they did that was irreversible. The one thing was like the salicylic acid. I don't think it got dissolved properly.
No. One thing they both missed is that they were supposed to mix the salicylic acid with those 2 surfactants and then heat that up and then add that in. And neither one of them did that. They kind of just dumped it in very chunky, which it worked.
Yeah.
It just could have been a little more efficient.
When we're like, okay, you do a pre-mix, like keyword mix.
It's okay. It's okay. There was like no procedure. We left them literally
We
straight.
did. We intentionally made this a little chaotic.
Yeah.
This was a fun game.
This was very fun. Yeah, no. I was starting to get concerned when James made that second version of the gum and he was using his hands.
I see that ball of Epimax there.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first time I had formulated with that gum before, so I did not know it any
I
better.
didn't give Ava much.
she didn't give me much procedure either.
So she had the advantage that she's taught classes before, so I thought I would take the home court advantage and not tell her what raw materials I had. All in all, this was so fun. I think it's so fun to see how different chemists formulate things also, and then like how we go about training our proteges.
I feel like you're very like adventurous. Like you're like, oh, let's add this. Like, oh, we got the pumpkin enzymes. Oh, like we'll do this. I feel like I'm very linear. Like I'm very structured. Yeah.
100%.